Is your time being spent in the most valuable areas, or are you working for your business, or are you working your business? Those are the things that you've got to get back out of that mindset of, I am not working for the business, I am working the business. I'm making the decisions to move the business forward, not the other way around.
If you're an entrepreneur who's built success but feels stuck in the grind, this podcast is for you. On the Live More Show, we give you short, powerful conversations to help you become more tax savvy, time rich, and totally free. Here's your host, Melanie Sikma.
What if the most profitable business opportunity isn't the sexy one, but the one that everyone else ignores? My guest is David Sauers, co-founder and CEO of Royal Restrooms. It's a company that took one of the most overlooked industries and turned it into a national brand with over 50 locations. David has built multiple businesses by spotting opportunities others ignored, and he's done it in a way that supports adventure, family, and impact. Today, we're going to talk about building niche brands, scaling through partnerships, and using your business to truly live more. So let's jump right into it. David, over 21 years, how has your definition of success changed as your business scaled?
Well, that changes, it seems like, every year. Something new always pops up, then you're just kind of like, wow. But I think the most important thing is a lot of times you don't realize that you've accomplished your goals until they've passed you because you've already jumped onto the next one. So I'd say stop and think and celebrate the moments that you do have before they do pass you by, because once they're gone, it's kind of like, oh wow, I did that. And it's hard to really have that true feeling of success because it's more like it's just on paper. You're not enjoying the moment. So I think it's important that as you hit your milestones, as you hit your goals, have that gratitude and expression that keeps giving and wants you to do more. Jump out of that bed and go hit it. Go, just run at it.
I love that. Yeah. A lot of the times, especially like high level performers, we want to go and just chase the next thing rather than just stop and celebrate the wins, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's great. Now, you balance multiple ventures, travel, and also adventure. How intentionally have you designed your business to support that lifestyle and not just growth?
Well, that changed as I got older and my business became more mature. And once the business took on, kind of began to operate itself and begin to mobilize for itself and produce for itself and open up new opportunities, that allowed me some instances whereas I could take a step back and do some of the things that I wanted to do and that I want to do with my family, things that I can do to reset and recharge and clear my mind so that I can continue to be motivated in joining, my life. I built this business so that I could have a life, so that I could do the things that I wanted to do and provide for my family and be with the people that I want to be with. And that's always been a hard balance until I've gotten a little bit older.
That's good. What made you shift from, I guess, you said when you're older, was it just the realization that time flies fast and so then you realized I need to enjoy what I'm building, or what made you make that shift?
Well, a lot of it was my children are older. My oldest is 27 and I also have an 8-year-old. So I've got a huge gap. Having that younger child later in life kind of made me realize how fast things did go with my first children. So it did make me stop and take a step back and think, how do I want to relive these moments going forward? How many opportunities did I miss with my kids? Did I spend enough time with them? Did I do enough for them? So that's really the life-changing moment that happened in my life where I made that shift, where I was committed to making a shift of enjoying my lifestyle a little bit more and pivoting.
Yeah. That's great. That's good. You realize that before you're really old and on your deathbed, right? That's a good, at least you have lots of time to enjoy it.
For sure. I'm still young enough that I can go and do the things that I want to do. I can still run and kick a soccer ball, and it's It might be a little harder in the morning, but I can still do it.
That's great. Now, Royal Restrooms started, that could be a tongue twister if you say it multiple times. I like it. It started by elevating something that most people considered just a normal commodity. What made you see opportunities in that area that others might not have, they might have missed it?
Well, that's a great question. And I think a lot of that boils down to just kind of how I grew up. I was always somewhat had an entrepreneur mindset. So always looked at how could I make things better? How could I do things a little bit better? How can I make a dollar off of something here? What can I do to make it better? And in the porta potty industry, it was by accident. I mean, it was a bad experience. I was taking my two children, Stella, she was potty training, never been to a porta potty before, didn't think anything about it. I go over there, she's potty training. She's like, what is this? This is like a bucket. And that instant was kind of eye-opening to me. It was a nervous, like, oh wow, this is kind of uncomfortable, especially when she goes in there and then touches the seat, and I cringe and panic, and I've got my other daughter on my hip, and we can't situate, we can't move around in this thing. It's dark. I'm just full-blown panic. So I hand Cece off to somebody outside, and I'm already nervous about that. Pick Stella up. I'm kind of looking over my shoulder, kick the door open just a little bit, and all of a sudden I feel this warm stream hitting my leg. So I am holding her up, and she is completely missing the whole toilet, and I'm just getting peed all over. So I go from nervous and upset to just very upset and just angry, just so mad about the whole thing. And I walk outside, and there's nowhere to clean off except what I've got. You can't even wash your hands. And I'm looking around at all these people. And there's all these tents. It's beautiful. There's lights in the trees. Everybody's enjoying that good time. And I'm looking around. I'm like, why in the world is this like such a perfect evening? And we're going to the bathroom like the Romans did. This is kind of degrading when you really sit back and think about it. So I went home. I measured my half bath out at my house and said, why can't you put this on a trailer? We have RVs, we have boats, we have buses that have, like, why can't you just put this on a small trailer? And that's really how it all started, was out of that instance. And, that's where it took off from.
I love that. I've definitely seen the differences between the type of porta potties you're talking about in your first instance, and then shifting to the much nicer versions. And it really does make a difference, especially at like places like weddings or when you're with your kids. It really does matter. So that's that. You turned your frustration into an opportunity. That's great.
Well, it makes a huge difference. And I mean, especially now in society, I mean, going to the bathroom and counting your money is basically one of the only two private things that you do anymore. And I think now it's somewhat funny. The new statistic is people actually go to the bathroom and they're nearing 8 minutes, I think, of going to the bathroom because they're sitting on the toilet looking at their phone or doing whatever. So, but not only that, it's a comfort level. It creates anxiety in people. And by providing something nice and elegant and what they're accustomed to, just makes for the whole process easier. It's not thought of anymore.
Now we got to get you in airplanes. Make the airplane bathrooms nicer. That'd be great. All right, cool. So Royal Restrooms grew into a national brand through franchising, right? So what was the key money move that allowed you to scale without doing everything yourself?
Well, one, it was a totally new product. So there was not really any kind of, I guess, business to model it after. We were going after a completely different clientele than what the typical portable sanitation market was going after. We were going after a rental-based, asset-based rental rather than a service-based. So we targeted weddings is who we
That's
really
smart.
targeted because the expense of our product was a lot more. And we figured that that was going to be who would take this option over a porta potty. But how we scaled was a bit of a surprise. It was by the users that saw our product, that used it, that wanted to copy what we were doing and wanted to be a part of what we had already started, what Robert and I had started. And so we first started licensing the business out rather than a franchise model. And we went to Florida, to Washington State, to Arizona, to California, back to Georgia, then South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee. And we just started hopping all over. People used our restrooms at these places and they said, I've got to bring this back to my house. And almost all of the people that were in this business, they were not entrepreneurs. They were more corporate people. They were in real estate. They were self-starters, but were also in the corporate world. So this gave an opportunity for them to start more from maybe a side hustle perspective that moved into a full-fledged business.
That's great. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of just like a real estate investing, but just in the porta potty space or event rentals. So that's awesome. Now, what's one decision that you made that over all others, that this one decision made an outsized impact on profitability or your scalability?
So I would have to say that we should have looked to more experts and talked to experts about building the business early on, about scaling it properly, about making sure that things stayed consistent from a brand standpoint, but also from a legal standpoint, accounting. We had to make sure because we're these two little guys in Savannah, Georgia, all of a sudden building a national brand, and we're dealing with state laws in Washington and California, franchise laws. You have to have the proper experience. And I think at the beginning, we tried to do everything ourselves, which really impacted our growth overall because we ended up getting penalized saying that we had to become a franchise. And it halted our growth for almost 2 years. We could not even speak to anybody until we got our franchise in line.
Wow.
So anybody that's looking to go forward like that, do your homework, talk to the experts, and really talk to the experts.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because the franchising has some pretty strict rules compared to licensing. So definitely. Now, how do you know, you've launched multiple brands across different industries. How do you know that an idea is worth pursuing or if it just should stay an idea? My husband always comes up with all these ideas and I'm like, okay, which one are we going to go after?
So all of my businesses, with the exception of really Royal Restrooms, I didn't really know that if it would take off or scale or do anything. It was just more of an idea that I wanted to put out there because I didn't like the experience and I thought that there could be something better. The other businesses that I've started, it is more from experience. I've watched the events industry. I've watched how people do things, how they consistently stay doing the same thing that they were doing 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And there's better ways to do it. And there's more opportunity to do those things. And so with Pitch Perfect TVs, that's the LED flat screen trailers, there's a lot of uses from horse races to movie nights that also bring back to renting restrooms. So it all kind of circles back to that event space with how can I put an addition onto this rental market? If I'm able to capture it and I know that it's there, I can pitch them something else. I can make your event a little bit better. It's the same way with the beverage trailers from a wedding standpoint. Now you've got a beautiful asset rather than somebody pitching a 10 by 10 tent and putting some tablecloth out there. But everything is moved in from emergency response, disasters, events that we've seen all across the country, which is something that a lot of people don't get to see on a large scale like I get to do. The one thing that is the oddball is Kruger Busch campers. And that has been more of a hobby, like what we were talking about earlier. What did you want to do to balance that work life and have a good time? And that's what I did with Kruger Busch campers. We went to Africa, spent about 6 weeks over there, completely life-changing safari, going, just everything about it was a wonderful experience. And one of those things was the way that we camped and the way that we went overland. And the RVs here in America, they just go to a concrete campground. Over there, we camped wherever we could. It was off-grid. It was minimalist. It was environmentally friendly, but the campers were built like boats. They were marine grade. They were sturdy. That's kind of how that started. I just took a detour.
I'm going to look into that because we go to Sierra Leone, so we're pretty off the grid there. So
oh yeah, these are perfect for it.
Yeah, that's great. Now, with your building, you kind of touched on it, and then with just creating great experiences, what role did customer service and customer experience play in driving premium pricing for your brands and loyalty?
So that in every business, understanding your customer, understanding their concerns and what it makes for them to feel secure in it. A restroom, that's the one thing that nobody wants to talk about, nobody wants to hear about, nobody wants to worry about. So with any business, if you can eliminate any stress and elevate the situation, that's what you do. Offer that advice, give them your expertise, and continue to try to win their business. Not just once you've got it, but continue to go that extra mile. Do something that is a little bit more. 5% more, it adds up over time. And people notice and people stick with you. That's where loyalty comes in. Another thing, we do a lot of community-based events. We are very active in our local community. That's who support us. So we support that. We go out, we do the marching dimes, we do the buddy walks, we do the Christmas tree lot. We're out there in that community giving back. And that also tells you what your customers need, what your customers want.
Be involved. I like that. And my dad always talks about, because I'm in business with my dad, and he always talks about basically deposits versus withdrawals with your customers. And you want to always be making more deposits than withdrawals, so that if you ever have to take a withdrawal, emotionally speaking, then they have a lot to pull from, a lot of savings to pull from. So kind of like a relationship.
Absolutely.
Yep. That's great. Now, many entrepreneurs chase trends, but you seem to build durable businesses. What's your approach to long-term growth versus just having quick wins?
Continue innovating. Continue to try to find something more. It's just that extra twist. Once you fine-tune something, like for years, all of the restroom trailers, we kept building the interiors out more. We kept making them nicer. We kept making them more functionable. One thing that we just stopped looking at in the entire industry was the outside. For years, we couldn't figure out, why can't we get a picture? Why are we still putting the restroom so far away? Why does grandma have to walk, 200 steps away? So a few years ago, I came out with the vintage style restroom. The exterior of it is a mirrored polished stainless steel that basically reflects the outdoor surroundings. So you don't even necessarily know that is now a bathroom trailer. It's not some big white cargo box sitting over there in the corner. It blends in beautifully to the environment and the element that you're at. So by continuing to do that, never stopping, not doing, you don't fall into that rut, whereas this is always how we've done it. You have to keep building, you have to keep reinvesting in your business. Just like you said, I continue to make more deposits. So when a customer sees you continuing to improve their business, make deposits into it, they know your company's going to be around here. You're not just giving them the old stuff and you were good 2 years ago. You're still great today.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of like in One Stop Tax Strategist, our tax business, we're constantly researching, and then we have like a list of strategies that we add to so that the whole team can pull through. We're constantly doing training. It's really important so that you don't stay stale because, yeah, you're right. Customers do notice that.
Yeah. And a lot of businesses, like what you said, they do get stale, they get stagnant, and they get used to doing things the way they've always done it, and they don't want to step out of it. And truly, the older that we get, the more we try to hold on to and we try to control. We don't necessarily have that drive of, we don't have anything to lose. Now that we're older, our businesses are a little mature, we do have to weigh those options of that risk reward. And it's a lot easier just to not do anything.
Makes sense. Now, it kind of ties into the next question that I have for you, because if you're caught up in the day-to-day, like our listener might be, if their business is super successful, netting 500K or more, and they're tied into the day-to-day, they can't really have that time to think and innovate and do all that stuff. So how would you advise somebody? What's the biggest shift that somebody can make if they're tied up into their business, the day-to-day of their business, and they're stuck in the grind? What do they need to do to be able to scale responsibly, pull themselves out of the grind, and be able to then start to put their efforts towards innovation and vision stuff?
I probably am a bad candidate to answer that question because I feel like, I do that and then I don't do that. The best practice I can say is put processes in place that don't require you unless you want to do it. There are systems out there, especially with AI. There are computers out there that are software out there that tracks things, that gives you reports, that tells you the data that you need. You don't have to necessarily spend all that time doing the things that you once did. It's kind of like social media. There's no need for you to be in Canva and trying to draw all this stuff out. There are people that can do that. Unless you like doing that, is that where your time is best spent? And I think that that's the real balance as your business matures is your time being spent in the most valuable areas, or are you working for your business, or are you working your business? Those are the things that you've got to get back out of that mindset of I am not working for the business. I am working the business. I'm making the decisions to move the business forward, not the other way around. And you get sucked into it because a lot of times you feel like you're the only one that can control it or fix it. And, that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, for sure. It's easy to get pulled back in. So you just have to be intentional to pull yourself out, at least have those moments where am I? I had a guest named Mike McCloskey on, and he has it's a will, skill, capacity activity. You write everything that you do in a day down, and then you write, do you have the will, the skill, or the capacity to do it? And if you don't have all three, then you need to delegate it. So those are kind of going back to that. I think that's a great activity to do, and just, I guess, continually do it so that you don't get caught back in the weeds, right?
Yeah, and it's still hard even to do that. I mean, it takes time to develop those processes and make that a habit that's sustaining. Because when you have a quick pitfall and you are all of a sudden attending to some kind of putting out some fire, your entire day shifts so quick. And you have to make sure that you can manage that properly. And I do a good job of it sometimes, and other days I fail miserably at it, but I get back up the next day and I start again.
Yeah, I appreciate the honesty and the authenticity. That's what we want here. So that's great. Um, Now, our mission at One Stop Tax Strategists, it's my company, it's also the sponsor of this show, but it's to bring peace to taxes and purpose to profits. So we always do this next part where it's called Costly Confessions, your financial wins, misses, and the lessons that helped you keep more of what you earn so you can live more. So looking back at your entrepreneurial journey, what is one tax or financial mistake that you made early on that you'd redo if you could?
A couple of them. One, I would have probably invested in more property rather than expenses like just renting. But two, I
Okay.
would have probably done more of a trust with my family and children so that I could have put more money back into from my kids for college and their future, because we're all building this not just for today, but we're trying to leave a legacy. We're trying to build something for the future. And I think a lot of times we missed out on that. And by not finding the proper financial planner, it can be difficult. I think that any of those, I guess, major tax advantages, I did not take advantage of them quite as much as I should have. Going back a little bit deeper, again, like I said, taking legal strategy and expert advice rather than doing the things that we were just used to doing. I think that cost us a lot because, as I said earlier, we were a license selling licenses. We got in trouble by the Attorney General out of Maryland and halted us for 2 years and cost us millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just so thinking, it sounds like for you, it's thinking big, like kind of looking at the overarching big vision of it so that you don't find, which some of that stuff is foresight, but it's also just like that's where meeting with somebody that's an expert that maybe has seen things that we don't know, that does help. So thank you for that. That's great. I know we have some people that come to us, they're entrepreneurs, they've been in business for 30 plus years, and they come to us and we can save them 70 to 100 grand in taxes. And they're like, almost like it's hard to believe I've thrown away that much every year, you know?
Yeah.
And so tax planning and even long-term planning financially is so important.
Well, I think kind of what you were hitting on just then, we're all entrepreneurs. We're all, that alpha mentality that we know it all. And
Yep.
it's like, okay, why am I going to pay an accountant $10,000, $20,000? I can go get somebody else to do it for $1,500 to $2,000. That's not where we need to be saving the money. That is absolutely not, because just like you said, you save somebody $70,000, $80,000 just by making a few changes. That's a costly error by not having the right people in the right places, and by most
Yeah.
entrepreneurs trying to skim because they feel like they know what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. Or they don't want to pay the small amount. You're jumping over, what is it? Jumping over pennies? Or no, you're jumping over dollars to pick up pennies. That's the saying.
Yes.
So in what area of your business are you jumping over those dollars to pick up pennies? And it might be marketing, it might be other areas, but that's where looking at what you can hire, what you can afford, all that stuff. One thing that my dad shared with me to do is to figure out what your hourly rate is. And then if you're doing a task that's below that, then you need to hire it out. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I hate to say this like this but I don't cut my grass. I let
Yeah.
somebody else do it. I don't have a lawnmower fee. I don't have to worry about the gas. I don't have anything in the garage, but I pay someone $300 a month to cut my grass because
Yep.
for me, my hourly rate, it's just not worth the time or the expense. So I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. And there again, it's hard to think about that in those terms. And a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of self-starters, even the ones that are making over 500,000, still do things themselves because they're looking to save that dollar.
Yeah. Now, you don't just build businesses, but you kind of touched on it with your Africa trip, but you also fund and build water wells through the Savanna Water Foundation. I love that. I love Africa. I love just nonprofit work and doing work to help others. So, how does that tie into your definition of success?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's success. It's something that
Uh-huh.
my wife and my family, when we were over there, we actually learned what it meant in the Bible to, the well was left to the oldest son. You got the wealth, because our travels over there, it was very eye-opening to see, and the pitfalls that they do struggle with over there. There are communities over there that the government or the different villages, there's so many people that have their hands in something that even when there are funds or there are nonprofits that are looking for assistance, there's so many hurdles and hoops to go through. I wouldn't say that Savanna Water Foundation has jumped off the charts and done anything. We've managed one well in Nigeria through Father Theodore that we're working on right now. But we did make contacts over there so that we could make sure that the funds actually went to what it was being told to do.
That's
And the
good.
whole project got completed, not just piecemeal and we're waiting here and it's going through this foundation. But I've really just funded that through basically different trade shows that we've gone through and our own funds. We've had very few donations, but we're hopeful that it will be something a little bit more and we'll get to see, it'd be great to see something huge in 20 years from now where we've done 150 wells or something like that.
Yeah.
So think big and you continue to think positive. Like I said, we haven't made that much of an impact, but for that one place in Nigeria,
one well
that's a
well
big,
can help hundreds of people.
right?
So that's
That's how we feel. So
that's awesome.
it feels good and you're making the world a better place.
I love it. So you went over there for fun and then you ended up seeing the needs and that's kind of what drew you to start helping?
My girls and everybody's a big hunter, really, except for me. I like to bird hunt. Everybody else likes to shoot a bunch of other stuff. So we were at a Ducks Unlimited banquet before COVID and we bought a trip that I was going to just take the girls on and we were just going to go for a hunting trip over there. COVID hit and it just kind of got longer and longer and longer. And we just kept saving up a little bit more money and we took our whole family. My parents were supposed to go. They backed out at the last minute, but my wife's parents went and we spent almost 6 weeks there. We started in South Africa, went through Botswana, went through Zimbabwe, Zambia, and then came back and went to Cape Town. So yes, we drove the whole way. So we got to see just a tremendous amount. We got to spend the night in the craziest, strangest places. Botswana was probably the friendliest group of people I've ever seen in my life. We got stuck on the side of the road for about 10 or 12 hours because of we ended up having 4 flat tires. But
Oh, wow.
the amount of people that stopped, offered us food, water, because we're in the middle of nowhere in Botswana. It was incredible. We even had one family that waited with us for probably 6 hours. And
Wow.
it's just an enlightening experience and it's a beautiful country.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me at all. I'm more in the northern, been to the northern parts of Africa, but I think all of Africa, the culture is just beautiful and the people there are just wonderful. So doesn't surprise me.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. Now, what's a moment where you saw one of your businesses help somebody else live more, whether a franchise owner, customer, or a community member?
Well, I think that we do that in a lot of ways. Basically, just through our community involvement, we make sure that all of our franchises do at least 25,000 of in-kind donation to local community nonprofit events. So by doing that, we do help each and every community. In Savanna, Georgia, at our 20-year mark, we had done over $2.1 million in in-kind donations in those 20 years.
Wow.
That's a lot of money, and that's a lot of time. From an employee standpoint, our employees volunteer their time. So it's a huge impact that you don't see all at once, but a lot of people are behind it. A lot of people, it's good to see people come out and just be motivated by something that's bigger than them. From a business standpoint, I mean, every office owner is building their own little piece of the American dream and building their own legacy. So it's great to see how far we've come in such a short amount of time and such an odd, different business.
All from your daughter peeing on you.
Yeah, I know, right?
You got to give her finder's fee on that.
Oh yeah, she's definitely had that.
I'm sure. Now, how do adventure, travel, and purpose play into the way you design your life today? Do you guys still like to travel and do things, or was that more of like just a once in a lifetime trip that you don't know if you'll go back or?
Oh no, we'll be back. No, we do quite a bit of traveling. We're headed to Alaska over the summer. We were over in London a couple months ago. We were in Ireland about 6 months ago. So we do try to travel here and there quite a bit. I think that travel opens your mind up and allows you the opportunity to not see what people are doing wrong. It's crazy. People are always like, oh, they're driving on the wrong side of the road. No, they're just driving on the different side of the road. But those, when you look at it like that, it's just different. It doesn't mean that it's wrong, but it allows you to expand into something to do things better in your own life, in your own business. But travel as a whole, getting out there, especially with the campers, getting out there with nature, that really clears my mind. It resets kind of my soul. But not only that, being with my family, they're not on their phones. I'm able to actually have a conversation with them when we're cooking dinner that night or we're building a fire. We're together and we've made those memories, whereas it's a little bit harder to do that sometimes, at the pool or on a soccer field. You're binded to those moments in time and you get to see things a little differently.
How do you design your role in your business to be able to support a life where you travel and stuff? Like, how did you do that?
Oh, well, that's still a work in progress. Like I had mentioned earlier, I thought that I had gotten those processes in place for us to be able to go to that next level and enjoy my life a little bit away from the Royal Restroom business side of it. But things happen, things don't quite go the way that they want, and sometimes you don't have everything in place the way that you thought that you did, and it could be from a marketing perception. Just because you're throwing money at something doesn't mean that it's going to work. You still need to tweak it and make sure that they're doing exactly what they say that they're doing. Unfortunately, probably like all businesses, there is a lapse in judgment, and you have to reset and you have to get back into the grind and build it back up. We had a lapse with Google My Business. We got wiped out for about 6 months. All of our offices across the board lost Google My Business. And understanding that process and the amount of revenue that's something that you don't pay for, that is just a free service, how much of an impact it has on you is critical. You take things for granted. Well, there's nobody at Google that you can just pick up the phone to and explain. They said that we had multiple user feedback reporting that we did not offer our product in our primary category. We only have one category, portable toilets. That's the only one they give us. So a lot of people call us looking for a portable toilet, and we're like, we don't have that. We have restroom trailers. We got completely wiped out, and it took us 6 months to get them back up in operation, and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of so-called experts telling us how to do it.
Mm-hmm. Now, as you pull yourself back out, because that's probably the goal, so now that you know what you know, because there's always lessons as we grow in business, as you pull yourself back out, replace yourself with what you're currently doing, what will you do differently? And I guess, what's the number one lesson that you learned that you're going to put in place? Because this will, I think, will be helpful for our listener.
Yeah. So
reporting?
It is reporting. It is making sure that you have measurable data and points that you can look at and that you can make quick adjustments. Just because your Google ads are running or your marketing is coming from here, you need to know where your customers are coming from. You need to know what is converting, what is your highest percentage, and that's where you need to go and attack your business. For so long, we have just been, throwing money. We're seeing leads, we're seeing things happen, but we don't exactly know, does wedding restroom trailers really convert better than portable toilet for weddings? We don't know. And until you have that data, which we have gone to that GoHighLevel, a new CRM system, that we're able to actually capture all of that data from point to finish. And I know that you can do it somewhat in analytics, but it's hard to track phone calls to leads to what actually converts from a franchisor side. Yeah. It's very, very important to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Data, that's very, very good. That's keeps people accountable, and it helps you get an overview of the business and how healthy it is, or areas of the business, without having to actually do the work.
Yeah, and so I'm able to make those decisions and look at that data anywhere in the world. So I can make decisions based on that. Hey, this is not converting right. We need to make a change here. Whereas before, I'm sitting there brainstorming, how are we going to do this? What kind of market shift are we going to do? You don't necessarily need all that. It's there. We just had to move into 2025 or 2026.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Now let's jump into some rapid fire questions.
Oh, goodness.
There'll just be a few of these. So let's see how quick-witted you are. One business myth that you no longer believe.
One business myth that I no longer believe. That you do not do it all by yourself. No matter how hard you have done something, no matter how hard that you believe that you are the one that has done it, you are replaceable, and everyone had help, whether they want to believe it or not.
I love that. One decision that made scaling easier, not harder.
One decision that made scaling easier. Finding the right partner, putting the trust and finding the belief in that person that they could do what you wanted to. Finding that middle ground, not necessarily a business relationship, but a partnership.
Awesome. What's harder, starting the business or staying disciplined as it grows? I know the answer for myself.
Staying disciplined as it grows.
Yeah,
because
it's easy to start something.
it's very easy to start something. It is, like I said, with people like me, my brain it doesn't stop. So I continue to want to keep doing other things. That's the fun part of what I like to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What does luxury really mean in business beyond price?
To me, luxury is comfortable. It is, I'm not looking for anything more, and I know that it's going to operate and be almost not there. I like it to just, it's all encompassing. It's not something that is a complete wow, but I'm not having to make a judgment call one way or the other on it.
Awesome. Well, awesome. So, David, thank you for being here today. Thank you for sharing how creativity, partnerships, and vision can turn overlooked ideas into incredible businesses, and how sometimes when you get pulled back in the weeds, you at least have a game plan for pulling yourself back out, right? So if you're listening right now and want to see how David turned a simple necessity into a national brand, make sure you check him out at royalrestrooms.com. You can connect with him there and then find ways that you can utilize his services or anything else. Don't stop here for the next episode. We're going to give you even more ideas to build margin, scale smarter, pull yourself out of your business, and truly live more. So I want to encourage you to just let it roll. You don't want to miss it. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd ask that you leave a quick and honest review to help more business owners find the show.